Mhuri yeZimbabwe tichiti mangwanana akanaka kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano paZimunews update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anenge ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So tongokurudzirana kuti kana uri mutsva usabve pano usina kusubscribe, kulike nekusheya. Sekuzva kwatiri kuita zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka apo patiri kuona wamugadza nezuro kuguta oro kuprovince yeManicaland muguta reMutare vakaanaunza nhaurwa dzekutoti nhasi kunenge kusina demonstration. Apa takaona vagari vazhinji veMamutare vakatanga kushoropodza vamugadza vachiti aiwa no kuprotesta kwatira kuita uku kutorimo muconstitution. So imi muda kuunza kanoti mupurisa kuleft then military kuside, mounza futi mugadhi kuside, kuda kutishishidzira here kana kuda kuti tipanike here? Hatisi kuzovhundika izvozvo. Mhuri yeZimbabwe takuti tinzwe makomboredi wetinawo pano kuti udzodzo unongo chifunga comment section nhauwa ida kuitwa nhasi demonstration ida kuitwa nhasi sezvo zvatiri kuona kuti pari zvino achiri mangwanani apo patakaona zvinhu izvi zvakaitika nezuro. Mhuri yeZimbabwe musi wa30 July wari kuda kushishidzira vanhu kuti vasaratidzire muzuva ranhasi musi wa31 July tisikazive kuti nhauwa idzi dzichange dzakamira sei. Ngatizwe makomboredi wetinawo pano.
And political tension that is brewing between the supporters and those who are pro-citizens. And we are witnessing an unusual rise in activity from ZANU-PF aligned groups, provincial leaders, and even senior officials such as Owen Mudangwe and that dishonorable Daniel Garwe. Mudangwe, he came out flanked by security services to denounce this planned demonstration or stay away. And they are all coming with one message, and a clear message, to say the 31st is illegal. And anyone who participates in that will be met with the consequences. Even Emerson Mnangagwa himself, he came out and he gave a warning that people must stay away from any form of public expression because it is illegal. Cap 3 is now be passed into law. It is now a law. It is now part and parcel of the Constitution, so there's nothing that you can do about that. That seemed to be the message that is being put out there. And combating statements that are coming out, you can tell the kind of tension, political tension, that is existing, right now. But one thing, if I am to focus on the statements coming from ZANU-PF and its goons, aligned groups and their supporters, they're tripping, they're tripping on each other, right there. Coming out to be telling us, oh, you can't demonstrate because the demonstration is illegal. But I want to believe the statements that are being banded about out there, ladies and gentlemen, they are speaking to us and showing us something that is deeper. There's something that is happening. I don't know if you've observed that. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's something that is happening that deserves our careful and thoughtful discussion. Hence, me opening this space, tonight on the eve of the 31st of July. You see, one thing that we need to make clear, our Constitution is explicit when it comes to the protection of our right to peaceful assembly and peaceful demonstration. That is given in that Constitution. But when you get told that exercising that right is unlawful, there are fundamental questions that arises. And I was like, so what is driving this level of alarm within the establishment? That was my question. They're tripping on each other. taking turns, one after the other, from the president all the way to the $10 Murakashi. What is driving this level of alarm? So we are looking at the 31st, which I've said is a day of civic resistance. So what does it mean when a day of peaceful civic expression is not met with a dialogue, but is met with threats that are coming from the establishment? And look at the intensity of the response. The intensity of this response, ladies and gentlemen, that is coming from the ZANU-PF-led establishment administration in Harare, ladies and gentlemen, is telling us its own story. There's a suggestion right there. If you're not reading into that, I want you to think carefully about it. There's a suggestion that is coming through that the 31st of July is not just another date. Remember the significance of this day, the 31st of July. Jacob Ngarivume, he did spend time in prison because of the 31st of July. It is a day that is beginning to hold some form of significance. It is now becoming a symbol. It is now translating into a symbol of public frustration, democratic aspiration, and a growth in belief that citizens must claim their voice in the face of political decisions that you and I are feeling are imposed rather than being made to be participatory in the events that are happening in Zimbabwe. Look at the way that they rolled out Camp 3 consultation. Whatever it is felt imposed, even though they said there was public participation, but that participation, ladies and gentlemen, was, you can't say that everyone was given the opportunity to participate, freely. The passing of Camp 3 into law, and we were counting, towards that. And some of us were anticipating that they were going to succeed in doing that. But what this has managed to do is to shake the confidence of the public when it comes to our democratic processes. And so when you see them reacting to the 31st, in the manner with which, they are reacting, ladies and gentlemen, that adds another layer. The state here is demonstrating every sign of being uneasy about the scale and the meaning of civic resistance. I want you to get that right. Because when you see government officials coming through, surrounded by security forces, the way Muda did, to denounce a peaceful stay away, a peaceful demonstration, that is more than simply communicating a legal position. What they are trying to do is to communicate fear. They're communicating the fear of public unity. They're communicating the fear of collective expression. They're communicating the fear of what it means when citizens decide to act together. This is why the 31st is such an important day. This is why it is such an important day. If you go into history, if you see a state feeling insecure, then there's everything wrong with that establishment. Because a state must feel secure in their legitimacy. And they should not be fearing or be going into panic mode when they hear the call for peaceful demonstrations. Because that is what people are calling for. People are calling for civic resistance, peaceful demonstrations. where we are expecting that the state should engage with us. The state should listen to us. The state should respond through dialogue. But what is happening is we are seeing these guys responding using intimidation. They are responding using threats. Threats to life, threats of imprisonment, threats to loss of livelihoods, etc. This is what they are doing. So I want us to ground this conversation today, ladies and gentlemen, because it is not about confrontation, because that is not what the 31st of July is intended for. But I want us to begin to have a conversation that is grounded in clarity, because all what we need to do and achieve is to build a certain level of understanding why a constitutionally protected act is being framed as a threat. That is important, to understand. Why are they behaving, in this manner? Why are they behaving, like this? We want the message to go out there to them that the 31st of July is about recognizing that the right to peaceful demonstration is not a privilege that is granted by the state. It is not given by the state. It is not granted by the state, but it is a democratic safeguard that is designed to protect you and me from the state when necessary. And that is profound, and that is quite important. I hope you're hearing me. I hope you're hearing me. Because by demonstrating peacefully, and this being enshrined in our constitution under section 59, it is a mechanism through which you and I can express dissent, can express our concern, and also express our hope. So for you to label a constitutionally provided provision or a mechanism as illegal, ladies and gentlemen, what the state, what Emerson Mnangagwa is administering, challenge the very foundation of constitutional democracy. Maybe that him, what's his name? This one, was having a spat, with Rutendo. What's his name? This former SD, this guy was now calling himself a critical thinker. Was not talking about Cab 4, was not talking about the Mutaba Empire, was not talking about, the dynasty. Maybe he's on to something else. That we are no longer a constitutional democracy. And the path has been carved to an entirely different animal that you and I have never existed, under. But one thing, that I want to say out to us, Zimbabweans, especially as we engage in conversations, with these people. Sometimes the things, that they do, they want you to lose your head. They want you to lose your head. And when you lose your head, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes difficult for you to interpret the moment as it is being presented, to you. They are doing everything that they want to do to scare you, bringing in a 2017 style, Chiwenga style of convening different members of the security forces, security service sector, as if, they are announcing something that is of importance to the nation. And yet, these are the very instruments that we're expecting to preserve that, constitution. The presence of these security services, the statements from political actors, and the attempts to legitimize the 31st. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is not a sign for you to retreat. It's not a call for you to cow, to quiver in your high tops. No, you're not supposed to be doing that. What they are demonstrating and what they are showing with their actions, their activities, there is a sign that a conversation around democratic choices, constitutional integrity, and political accountability has reached a critical point in the teapot-shaped country that's called, Zimbabwe. They are showing us they are aware, acutely so, aware that we, as a people of Zimbabwe, we are not docile. We are not sitting on our laurels. We are paying attention. We are organizing. And we are refusing to be passive. That is the beauty of everything that is going on right now. Because the significance of the 31st does not lie in confrontation. That is what, that is not what it is all about. It lies in your participation, iwe with someone who is Zimbabwe. In the courage to insist that constitutional rights are meaningful, not symbolic. In the understanding that peaceful civic action is not a threat to democracy. I saw this Hans Mutapa, Royal Charter saying if you are going out there to demonstrate, you are going to be infringing on my right. Your right to do what? To not, demonstrate. If you don't want to demonstrate, stay at home. Nobody's holding a knife on your neck to say, oh, you need to join in this demonstration. So don't try and attempt to rewrite these provisions of the Constitution that are clear in meaning and in substance. 31st of July, ladies and gentlemen, signifies democracy in motion. And that is the message that needs to be sent out there today. So I'm going to be opening, the space, but I want us to do our conversation with calm conviction. I want us to be in a position to be acknowledging whatever tension, that is happening, but I want us to desist from feeding it. Because sometimes that is, the danger that we get into. Instead of focusing on what needs to be focused on, we end up, feeding that which we do not need to be feeding. We are recognized that, there's fear within, the establishment. Because when you see them stampeding to the podium, the way that, they're doing, it's fear. But we do not need to have conversations that mirror that fear. We need to have conversations that show courage. We want to affirm that we, the citizens of Zimbabwe, we are a democratic alternative. And one thing that you need to know, no matter what shape that is going to ultimately take, you need to be, you need to recognize that whatever democratic alternative that you're dreaming of, it's going to begin with you and me. You who refuse to be silenced. Me who refuse to be silenced. Me who is insisting on constitutionalism. You who is insisting on constitutionalism. And you who understands that democracy is at its strongest when we stand together peacefully, purposefully, and with clarity of intent as a people. They want to instill panic. They want to instill fear. But given, the state of our nation, we understand that, they're succeeding, in doing that. But we should never be intimidated. I don't want to preach, I don't want to preach a message of not having hope. But I want to preach a message, Yekuti. Tomorrow is not a day of panic. But tomorrow is a day of principle. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be? And that day of principle, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be starting with conversations like these. Because conversations like these are part and parcel of that principle. 31st of July, a day of reckoning, a day of civic resistance. Anyway, I hope my boy, if you're just joining me, thank you very much, for coming through. I do appreciate you guys. If you can repost, the space, it would be very much appreciated. It's been a minute. I think I last did, space almost, 2 weeks ago. But here we are. Um, um, I mean, let's continue from where we left. But that is the topic, of the day. That is the topic that I want us to be focusing on. But sometimes this thing, goes, sideways. And I always anticipate that it happens, but not that the anticipation is something, that I particularly say good. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So if you want to make a contribution, ladies and gentlemen, I think, I've said enough. If you want to make a contribution, if you want to say something pertaining to the day, what you're thinking about the day, or if there's anything that you feel that, we should be talking about, but linked to the day, associated to the day, the events, the everything that we are saying we need this, to be happening. Feel free, to come through and welcome to the space. Research Eval, how you doing?
Yes, I'm okay, Ango Jed, and it's like I'm about to travel. So it's good that I have shared my ideas. Before I start traveling, I will be listening. Thank you very
Right.
much for what you have said. Thank you very much for what you have said. You see, we have said it before that Mnangagwa at the moment is an illegitimate president. So he fears so much than the time when he was a president of Zimbabwe. And we have said it before that you see, when it is easy to deal with Mnangagwa when he is an illegal president than dealing with him when he is a legal president. So tomorrow we are, like what you said, we are going to this protest, under protest, this demo under protest. How on earth should the minister and the government try to subvert the constitution of the Zimbabwe by not allowing them their right to demonstrate? We are being told that they are going to unleash military on the streets tomorrow, and that is not acceptable. That's why we are saying we are going there under protest. And we have got information that the armory has been seen heading towards Beit Bridge. Why is this? Because this tone of the demonstration has taken a regional tone. And South Africans there, I know that that is the point that I've been saying, that of course Barakash, they wanted us to attack the South Africans for attacking us, and not the ANC government, because they knew that it will eventually come to ZANU-PF. But we've said that this xenophobic attack is a direct attack on ZANU-PF and the ANC. So this is what is happening. You will see South Africa, they are also planning something, encouraging the Zimbabweans to go. In Botswana, there is that movement also. They are supporting this the 31st movement. So what it means is that there is an opportunity for us to make sure that we will do even much better. And the government is going to continue suffering because they've seen that even the region is coming to the rescue of Zimbabweans. Even let's say tomorrow they unleash the soldiers, they prevent the people from going on streets. What does that mean? It means that the regional voice is also going to be heard by the international community. That's why we also salute our brothers in South Africa and Botswana. And at one point in time, we are going to realize that our enemy is not the South Africans, but it's ANC and ZANU-PF. They are the ones who caused us to be where we are today. So this is now an opportunity for us to make sure that in future we are going to harass them through the regional support, and through the local support. And the Zimbabweans tomorrow, they should show that as citizens, they've got a right of demonstration and they don't fear anyone because there is no president in Zimbabwe. And as you can see, the military is going to be unleashed on streets tomorrow. ZANU-PF doesn't know whether they are on their side or they can change the course of action when they are on the ground, because the powers of the military were also taken by this particular bill, and as a result you are telling those people to go and kill their brothers. So what if they are going to call people to come for demonstration or to stop police from harassing the demonstrators? So that is the quandary and scandal that is also facing ZANU-PF at the moment. So, Ango Jed, thank you very much for opening the space. We are saying that tomorrow we have won it. They are taking the armory up to Bait Bridge, and they are going to unleash the soldiers. Everyone from the ZANU-PF cell to the president, not president, illegal president in Mnangagwa, they are talking about this particular demo. So we are saying it's just a warning. That is just a smoke screen that they are going to see that something better is going to happen or something disastrous to them will happen, because the citizens, they want to gain control of their power of the constitution. So let me land by saying that tomorrow's demonstration, we are going under protest. Whether the people are not going to come on street or they are going to be subdued not to come on streets, we have won it. We have seen what has happened. We have seen the kind of panic because they've got an illegal president. So that is going to be the tone. And next time, we are going to ask our brothers in South Africa, those for Dudula and those, the movement from Botswana, to come on this space so that we can chart the way forward. If they suppress us from our country, we can air our voice through another voice. So that's why we are saying, Ango Jed, keep moving. We are in support of you and we will make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate Mkoma. I hope Kwamuru travel. I go safe travels and journey messes. And thank you very much for raising an important point right now. To say good tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I was emphasizing on the day. That day is achieved a remarkable success. Right? It has achieved a remarkable success. When have you ever seen these guys tripping on each other, coming through